Joining us now is the play-by-play voice of the Chesapeake Baysox, and he's got an interesting secondary title. He's the broadcasting and creative media manager of the Chesapeake Baysox. That is Andre Magaro. Andre, first of all, thank you for setting me up the other night out there at Prince. What's it called?
Yeah, Prince George's Stadium.
Prince George's Stadium. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do so. And then thank you guys for having me on.
Got a chance to see Luis De Leon for the first time. What are your impressions of him? Is he making some progress as the season goes on?
I would say so. I think
We just
guys like Leon, a very young player that is getting an opportunity here with a tough first month under his belt for
Yep.
sure. But I think he really bounced back nicely in the month of May, and the strikeout numbers are continuing to go back up, and he's continuing to piece together really good outings. He had a great bounce back in that outing in Altoona 2 weeks ago, and then put it together with another solid start, like you said, on Wednesday.
Who's the pitching coach there at Chesapeake? And do you observe whether Forrest Herman is in visiting with this group of starters?
Yeah, so our pitching coach is Jeremy Heilman. It's
Right.
his second season with the organization, first up here at Double A, and Forrest will make his rounds. Obviously, a lot of full season affiliates to keep tabs on, but he'll be around and he'll be in helping work with the arms and helping provide an extra set of hands there with Jeremy as they continue to develop these guys.
Uh, so the improvements you've seen with De Leon over, say, the last half dozen starts, have they been quantifiable in terms of his statistics? Has he been much better? He looked good the other night to me. A couple defensive lapses behind him, in my opinion. But your thoughts on the last 5 or 6 starts?
I would say so. I think with some of the changes that he's making, landing the strikes more consistently. He's a guy that when he gets ahead of hitters, he's got some of the nastiest stuff in the system and across the minor leagues in order to put guys away. An incredible ground ball pitcher with that sinker, and then again the other stuff, the slider, the four seamer, and the splitter that he's been working on as well, really generates a lot of swing and miss. So it's been great to see him get ahead of guys and start to put them away. But like you mentioned, talking about other things that happen outside of just the physical pitching from him, that's been where his growth has been as well, and maybe a way that isn't as quantifiable. When you see things maybe not go your way, maybe you execute a pitch really well and the hitter just beats you,
Yep.
being able to bounce back and keep that firm mentality batter to batter and not let that snowball. It's been a really great thing to see from him. Just to sometimes things aren't going to go your way; they're not controllable. But being able to stay on top of it and continue to have an efficient outing, I think it's something that he showed last night. Or on Wednesday,
Wednesday
excuse
night.
me.
Yep.
You get a homer that goes over, and you don't let it stockpile at just that, and you kind of silence the bats from there on.
The guy I'm really anxious to talk to you about, and unfortunately, it turned out I have a 95th birthday party I have to go to. Not for me, but for a relative on Saturday, is Joseph Dzierwa. Tell us a little bit about how impressive he's been since his promotion from Frederick.
Yeah, he's been great. He comes out, attacks guys, and really has a solid game plan, batter to batter, every single start. Really impressive stuff. Obviously, the arm angle, he'll drop it down a little bit, and just the way that he presents the ball, it makes it really, really tough on hitters. But somebody that just goes out, consistently attacks, and again, when stuff isn't going his way, maybe he's getting hit, gives up a couple of base runners. He doesn't shy away from throwing his best stuff at all. There's been some situations where maybe there's been some traffic on the base paths for him early in outings, and he's bared down and he's gotten guys out. And so I think he's been super impressive. Obviously, the strikeout numbers are some of the best in all of minor league baseball when you combine his work with both Frederick and then here at Chesapeake. And those strikeout numbers haven't gone anywhere since he's been up here at Double A. So getting a lot of swing and miss. And again, when he is getting hit, he's not letting it stockpile.
Let me ask you one question. The strikeouts, are they a product of his velocity, or is it more a funky motion or a being tough to pick up, or is it velocity?
I think it's a little bit of both. I've been really impressed watching Dzierwa throw. He can find a little extra on that fastball when he needs to. He knows the right moments to pick too, when he needs to generate a little bit more and grab some swing and miss. But I think obviously the presentation and the arm angle is super, super challenging from both sides of the plate as well.
Since we're talking pitch, I want to get into some of the bats at some point, Andre. But obviously, pitching is the name of the game, and that's who everyone up here in Baltimore is wants to know what pitchers are on their way here. So, and I know guys, the organization's dealt with some injuries like Patrick Riley and Braxton Bragg, who are some young exciting guys, but they're working their way back from arm injuries. So, what other pitchers are at Double A or at Chesapeake right now that people should be keeping an eye on? Maybe one like Horan Watts Brown, who came over at the deadline last year. Who are some other guys that we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, Watts Brown's another guy that is some really, really nice breaking stuff through last night. The slider is very, very good for him. His changeup is getting a lot of swing and miss. He has some really good stuff. You mentioned he came over in the trade last year when the Orioles sent Sir Anthony Dominguez to the Blue Jays. I also, in a first year at Double A, Sebastian Gongora is another member of the rotation that has been great. A good 4-pitch mix for him. A really, really nice curveball that he's turned to a little more often than a fastball, slider, and changeup. But he has nearly cut his ERA in half from what it was in his first full pro season last year between single A and high A. And just a guy, again, that he will be in the zone constantly, doesn't issue a whole lot of free passes, and can bounce back from some adversity. And he's been really, really good and a really impressive arm as well. Another lefty in that rotation that's certainly impressed in his first year at Double A.
Then now to go offensively, we were talking about him actually at the earlier in the show, but like the tandem of Tomas Sosa and Aaron Estrada, those seem like the two of the bigger bats right now with the Baysox. What's it like watching them? How can you describe their style of play?
Yeah, so both very, very talented, both also among the youngest everyday position players in the Eastern League, just in terms of age. So for them to get up there at that age, an accomplishment in itself. But both excelling with a different style at the plate, right? Estrada is a guy that is getting more lift on the ball this year and done a really good job with his pitch recognition, choosing pitches to swing at and do damage with, which is part of why the power numbers are up for him. But a guy that's going to hit for a high average is going to hit a lot of line drives and hit a lot hard. Sosa's a guy that has some jaw-dropping power. He hit a homer on Tuesday that went over an estimated 400 feet, went into the treetops beyond the outfield wall there at Prince George's Stadium, and just a guy that has a ton of power, ton of extra base hit potential, and can do a lot of damage. So two different profiles. Estrada is a switch hitter. Sosa comes in from the left side, but both, again, amongst the youngest everyday position players in the league and both finding their swings really, really well right now.
How about defensively? How are both of those guys holding up? Sosa's listed at 6'4", 160. Is that accurate in your opinion?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, sometimes you get those measurements and maybe there's a little more muscle on there than a
Right.
160. I think that's a fair assessment. Sosa's a guy that'll be in the corner outfield primarily. Has a really, really good arm. He's nailed some guys at the plate and kind of made you pick your jaw up off the floor with some of the velocity that you can reel up on those throws from the outfield. He's also gotten a handful of starts at first base as well, and his defense there has improved very well. Estrada was a guy that moved around the diamond a little bit last year. He's stuck exclusively at second base this year, and I've been really impressed by him seeing his first step. He's a really quick guy as well, if you'll watch him on the base paths, and he's really worked hard on getting a good first step over at second base, which has helped him range to some balls that maybe he wasn't previously getting to in the past. And then his turns on double plays have also been really, really sharp this year. Between him, Griffo Farrell, and Carter Young on that middle infield, there's a lot of really smooth hands and some quick turns for some double plays that have been a lot of fun to watch.
Speaking of hands, got to see Ethan Anderson the other night. I like his swing, and his numbers are pretty decent. But a couple times they tried to steal on him. He had trouble with the exchange both times. Is that something you've seen all season, or was that just sort of a funky night for him?
Yeah, that was definitely an outlier. I think that also is dependent on the types of pitches. I'm going to give some credit to Richmond, the team that they were facing. It's one of the best teams in all of minor league baseball this year. They're 20 games over 500, and they are just a really, really solid all-around group. They were picking some good pitches to run on, some breaking balls and some pitches where Ethan had to reach across his body, which always makes it really difficult, especially with a guy like De Leon, where all of this stuff moves so much. That sinker and that slider. It's tough to get into a position to throw a guy out in a position like that. I think the other thing that as I go around and talk to people that they're not super aware of, there have been some rule changes in Double A this year, and one of them is one disengagement per plate appearance. And so that makes neutralizing the running game a lot harder
I did not know that.
year at this
Do
level.
you like
And
that
getting
rule?
that one.
You-
It's been interesting.
Yeah.
The first half of the season is going to end following the game on Sunday here when the series wraps up against Richmond. So we've had about half a season to digest it. I think it's been an entertaining watch. I think there's some gives and some takes. I've talked to base runners about it. Tavian Josenberger is a guy that is one of the best base runners in the system and leads the team in steals right now. And he likes obviously how it can allow you to be more aggressive because it's similar to the big leagues, right? You get the one disengagement, then you have to get them on the second one, or it's a free bag. So after they throw over the first time, you have a pretty good idea of being able to get a good jump and get a good run. And it's difficult for pitchers to then neutralize the running game as a result. And you've seen teams be more aggressive on the base paths as a result. And then even from a catching perspective, I've noticed a lot more back picks this year just to try to hold those guys honest when they're not running.
Wanted to ask you about one other pitcher that's already been promoted from you guys to Norfolk, and that's reliever Yaki Rivera. Tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, it's been great watching Yaki really dominate Double-A when he came in this season, and then what he's continued to do in Norfolk, I would say is fair to reflect on that dominance, especially what he did last night for the Tides. He's another guy that has a really good two-seamer, a sinker that he can generate a lot of weak contact on, and a nice complement of secondary pitches as well. He was used as a very, very young guy ahead of the learning curve at Double-A last year in more short relief outings. This year, they've stretched him out to more eat up multiple innings. I know the Tides have used him to start some games. He started one game here on a bullpen day and threw about 3 frames, but he's a guy now that is going 2 to 3 innings. His velocity is not, what we come accustomed to. You guys were talking about Jacob Mizorowski before you welcomed me on the air here. He's not going to be throwing triple digits. He's a guy that sits more in the low to mid 90s, but still generates a fair share of swing and miss. And I think they've really found that sweet spot for him. He was a starter in the complex when he came up with the Marlins. He was dealt to Baltimore and actually the Tanner Scott deal. He was a player to be named later in that trade. So when he was first coming up with the Marlins through the complex, he did start some games. And then he was used more in short relief last year. And I think the org has really found a good sweet spot for him, eating up multiple innings out of the bullpen or maybe being an opener of sorts in some games. And he has really kept hitters off balance with his repertoire.
Andre, I wanted to ask you about you personally, but first, promote a little bit about what's coming up on the rest of this homestand.
Yeah, really fun weekend at Prince George's Stadium, right? We have fireworks both tonight and on Saturday night. Saturday's a fan favorite. It's Star Wars night, annually held at the ballpark. So, all the different fan groups come out. They're in character. There'll be some in-between inning lightsaber battles, I'm told, and it always is a fun night at the ballpark. Of course, the fan groups will be roaming around on the concourse as well. Baysox.
Will you be in your Will you be in your Obi-Wan Kenobi outfit when you broadcast the game?
You know what? I won't. I can't quite pull that one off as good as the as good as the professionals can, right?
Yeah.
I'll just rock with the modest polo. That's usually my go-to.
All right. What else on this homestand?
Yeah, so they'll have the specialty jerseys on Saturday as well. That'll be signed by the players and auctioned off afterwards. And then Sunday, of course, is Father's Day. So there's a barbecue offer upstairs and in the picnic areas, and then also an opportunity to go celebrate a day with Dad for a Sunday matinee. So it should be a fun end to the homestand here. And then we go back home again next week against Harrisburg to open up the second half.
All right. Let me talk to you a little bit about you. How many years have you been with the Baysox now? Is this your second year, third year?
It's actually season number 4 for me with the Baysox overall.
Jeez whiz. Time flies. Time flies.
It does.
And you have this unique title. So I know most play-by-play guys in the minor leagues are also doing a lot of other things. Tell me about this position in addition to your play-by-play responsibilities of broadcasting and creative media manager. What is that?
Yeah, so right now for this season, I've done, like you said, outside of the broadcasting, I'll oversee the public relations for the team as well. So that's the creation of, the daily game notes and the resources and information on the players and the team that go out to the media. Also help set up, media inquiries with outlets that come in to provide coverage of the team as well. And then there's also a graphic design aspect of my job. So a lot of the baseball related materials, like lineup graphics, like player recognition, player promotion, final score, stuff like that also falls into my bucket. And then I help design our digital game program as well, along with a couple of other different graphic design projects that'll filter throughout the season.
And where'd you go to school, and what'd you major in? Was it broadcast?
It was. I went to Penn State University and majored in broadcast journalism.
Okay. Griffin, you got anything?
I guess if I can ask about one more player
Yeah.
that we didn't bring up, Brandon Butterworth. I'm a little curious about Andre. How's he looked this season? Has he shown signs? I know he's a little banged up right now, but has he shown signs of why he's a guy that Mike Elias and company would want to be after when they brought him over from the trade deadline last year?
It's funny. So Brandon collegiately played at North Carolina State, and he drew some comparisons to another NC State guy, and Trey Turner, just for like a similar build and profile. And I would say those comps are fairly fair. Butterworth is a guy that plays all over the diamond. He played more outfield this year when he was healthy for the Baysox and worked that into his repertoire. But he was a leadoff guy here the first couple months of the season when he was healthy, and he does have some sneaky pop as well. Hit a couple leadoff homers, and a guy that is just very, very solid all around the diamond, whether it's on that left side of the infield or again in the outfield. The speed is definitely a game changer, a guy that can get on and wreak some havoc on the base paths, and a guy that, again, can plug in at numerous different positions. We see that super utility role just continue to expand in the baseball world as time goes on and the game evolves, and he's somebody that definitely does it at a really high level and has a lot of really good tools.
I'm going to ask you about one more player and then one more question. The other night I saw Willie Vasquez. He had a pretty good night Wednesday night, didn't he?
He did.
Is he a recent call up from Frederick?
So he was rehabbing with Frederick. He spent a little bit of time with Norfolk at the beginning of the year. I think got a little banged up. So he rehabbed recently and has been spending some time with us. But he's somebody, again, that sees the ball really well, pretty much can count on to get on base 1 to 2 times a night, take his walks, and then when there's a pitch there to do damage with, he's been swinging it really, really well right now.
All right. Last question I have for you. I know you don't have a pipeline to Mike Elias and what his thinking is, but you seem like the type that follows pretty closely everything going on in the organization. Do you anticipate another player or two coming up to you from Frederick?
I like you said, I don't really have any insight there, and I don't have any expertise on the pipeline. But I know right now we've got a great group. We've got a great group of guys and a great system. That's what I've noticed doing this now in my 4th season. Everybody that has been at this ballpark and called it home has been first class. They go down there, work every single day, and they commit themselves to the organizational philosophy, not just making themselves better, but making everybody around them better. Being able to work with Roberto Mercado and his staff for so many years has been such a blessing. He's first-class manager for everything that he has done for me to be a part of, and I'm just really grateful to get to interact with all of these guys and be a small part of their story every single day.
All right. Well, go ahead. You got something else?
Last one, I swear, Andre.
We swear this will be the last.
How did Dylan Beavers look last night?
He looked great. He actually got challenged straight out of the gate. There were some hard hit baseballs right at him in right field. He was really explosive with his first step. The range was really good. And he hauled him in pretty comfortably. And then, in these rehab assignments, you don't necessarily look at the results as much as the crispness of the movement, right? But he had a really, really good couple of at-bats. Didn't really get anything to hit his first at-bat. I don't even think he took the bat off his shoulders. And then in the second AB, he fouled off a number of really tough 2-strike pitches. The guy starting for Richmond last night is a pretty good arm that's pitched rather well in this league now for a couple of different organizations. And Dylan fouled off a couple of tough 2-strike pitches and worked a 9-pitch walk, which was really comforting to see. And I thought his movement in right field was really, really crisp.
Good stuff.
Hey, we really appreciate your coming on. Great to meet you. And we'll look forward to getting you on again. And I want to get out and see Joseph Dzierwa very soon.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you very much for the time. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Great appearance. Thank you, Andre.